Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian. It's really early on a Friday afternoon. Clock just struck noon. We've got a number of bowl games we're going to be jumping in between today and tomorrow. I've got 4 games that I'll be dropping bets on, 5 picks in total, because we at Porcelain Picks are focused on bringing you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. So Friday, it's probably a slow day at work for most of you. It's a slower day at work for me, although I wish it wasn't with the end of the year coming up. A lot of good college football to be played, a lot of opt-outs, a lot of games we've kept an eye on as far as which teams are motivated, who's going to show up and win. We went 1-1 a couple days ago. I had no picks for you yesterday, which was Thursday, so I'm diving in with 2 games that I'll select today, and then we have 2 games tomorrow, which is Saturday. All right, so happy college football, everyone. Let's dive into the action. We've got a 2 p.m. kickoff today in the Sun Bowl. We've got Notre Dame coming in as a 5.5-point favorite against Oregon State. At the time of this recording, I did see a couple of lines at 5, but we're going to go with 5.5 because that's what I'm seeing as the majority. So keep your eyes open for a better spread than that. On both sides of the football, we have a number of different opt-outs, a number of players going to the NFL, not playing in this game. On the Notre Dame side, we know Sam Hartman's out. Their starting quarterback, we know their running back, Audric Estime, who's one of the best running backs in the country. He's not going to be playing. A bunch of their members of their offensive line are out for this game. Their starting quarterback is a guy named Steve Angeli. He's unproven. He doesn't have a lot of in-game experience, so we'll see which Irish team shows up today. On the Oregon State side of the football, again, their starting quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, is in the transfer portal, and then their starting running back, the reigning first-team All Pac-12 running back, Damian Martinez, is likely not going to play. He was ruled out in the month of November because of a DUI, so he was suspended from the team. He's been reinstated, but he hasn't practiced this week. I don't think he's going to suit up for the Beavers this game. All right, so on this day, Oregon State's also going to have their third-string quarterback, a little bit of a more proven entity than on the Irish side of the football. So a guy named Ben Gulbranson. If I'm pronouncing that right, he went 7-1 as a starter last year, so a little bit of experience on the Oregon State side. However, I do think these teams are just set up and built differently. I think Notre Dame's built with some of their recruits over the past few years to just withstand this turnover, where I think Oregon State's a little bit thinner at the positions where they're losing their starters. So I do like Notre Dame to lean on the run today. I think they're going to get Angeli some throws today that they'll be able to put up some yardage on this Oregon State defense. I think Notre Dame's got a strong defense as well. So I do like the Irish in this game. I'm going to back Notre Dame, 5.5-point favorites. Lock it, flush it for your Sun Bowl first pick of the day. All right, I've got the Cotton Bowl coming up this evening. That's the next pick. So we've got Ohio State, a 5.5-point favorite against Missouri. This game started closer to a pick'em, but has creeped all the way up 5.5 points. Why is that, you ask? Kyle McCord, the starting quarterback for Ohio State, he's out. We know he's in the transfer portal. We know freshman Devin Brown is going to be starting. He's a redshirt freshman. He hasn't produced much. He's came in spots to run the ball. He's a dynamic playmaker, but maybe not the passer that Kyle McCord is. We also have Marvin Harrison Jr. While he hasn't yet declared for the NFL draft, he's not going to be suiting up in this game for Ohio State, so they lose a lot of production there. But who they do retain, and why I do think the Buckeyes have creeped up in terms of the favorites in this game, are some of those freshman receivers we're going to get to see. So on the Missouri side first, before I hit on Ohio State, we've got very few opt-outs. They're going to have Luther Burden at wide receiver. I've been high on this guy all year. You've been hearing me talk about him and the Brady Cook connection. Their starting quarterback. They've been making opposing defenses really stand on their heels and have to defend against that passing game. So we'll see what happens here as they meet this juggernaut defense on the Ohio State side. But these are a couple of the names I want you to remember on Ohio State, because when I do the recap on Monday ahead of the New Year's Day picks, I'm going to come back to these names. The 2 names, we know Emeka Egbuka, if he plays today for Ohio State, he's a name that everyone's heard. He's a junior. He's around. He's going to go to the NFL next year. But 2 additional names that you're going to hear next year for the Buckeyes, and I think you'll hear a lot of today, are Carnell Tate and Brandon Inniss. They're 2 freshman wide receivers with a ton of talent. they're going to be stepping up. We know Julian Fleming entered the transfer portal for the Buckeyes, but these two, I think, are part of that reason. I think Fleming saw that he wasn't going to be the number one guy when Harrison and Egbuka were gone, that Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes, those are the two wide receivers of the future who are going to be playing on Sundays 3 years from now when we talk. So you could take that to the bank. I think with the over-under in this game, I also am interested in this. It's 50.5 right now. Ohio State is just 3-9 this season on the over, and Missouri, conversely, is 8-4 on the over. All right, so something's going to give here. Is this game going to go over or under? Ohio State surrendered just 11 points per game. We know some of the Big Ten offenses they've played haven't been all that. But I do think Missouri struggles against an Ohio State defense that is complete and that can defend against the pass. So I like 2 picks in this game. I like Ohio State, 5.5-point favorites. Lock it, flush it, and then I like the under, 50.5. Love the under, 50.5. Lock it, flush it. I think Ohio State wins this game. I think both teams will be somewhere in the low, I think it'll be something like 24 to 17, something like that in the favor of the Buckeyes. All right, so take that to your toilet, flush it. All right, Saturday games, we've got 2 games to go through. We've got the Peach Bowl with the Penn State Nittany Lions taking on Ole Miss. So part of this SEC Big Ten back and forth matchup that everyone's rearing to see this bowl season. So Penn State right now is a 4.5-point favorite. Over under set at 48.5. I think there's a couple storylines to watch out here. I like Ole Miss. I've liked them all year. I've told you Jackson Dart is a quarterback to keep your eye on. I think Quinshon Judkins, one of the best running backs in college football. They'll be going against a stout Penn State defense who's got it done all season long. On the ground and through the air. But Penn State does have a lot of guys entering the NFL draft. For them, it's a little bit of an unknown because they have guys like Olu Fashanu who are going to be probably a top 5 NFL draft pick next year, and Chop Robinson, their defensive end, who's also going to be a first-round draft pick. And then they have Kalen King, their cornerback, who will, again, likely be a first-round draft pick. These guys told us they're going to the NFL, but they are suiting up for the bowl game. So the question is going to become, how much action are they actually going to have in the bowl game? Are they just trying to finish out the season with their teammates? And maybe we'll see them for a couple series before the backups get in. So that's something to watch. I tend to think the latter. I think they're going to suit up, play maybe a quarter or two, and then not risk any injuries. They just want to be there for their brothers in arms and just show up for this bowl game. I think Penn State is going to come in motivated to this game. They need this. They're 10-2 for a second straight regular season. This team and this fan base wants more. I'm speaking for myself here. We want more. 10-2 is certainly something to be appreciative of, but we're looking for that next step next year. And I think Penn State really needs this. They need to air the ball out. They need to get Aller going to some of these younger receivers and make sure that they take risks in this game. And for that reason, I think the over is a strong possibility in this game. And I like just one play. I do lean Penn State in the 4.5. I'm not going to pick that one, though, because I don't know what these guys who are going to the NFL are going to do. I think they're going to not play in the second half. So I think Ole Miss is going to put up some points, and I could see this being a tight game with either team coming out on top, maybe a 3-point game. And I think it will come down to the wire. Both teams are going to be motivated. This isn't one of those, the age-old thing where the SEC team just says like, we're not in the championship. We don't care. That whole farce that happens every year. Both these teams are coming out with their A game. They're going to try to produce. They're going to try to head into next year with a lot of momentum. I like the over in this game, 48.5. I think both teams put up points. Both teams are going to be able to run the football. And I do think because Penn State's going to have a lot of their younger guys in a defense, Jackson Dart's going to be able to throw this one around and keep that high propensity offense on the field and scoring some points. So give me the over 48.5, lock it and flush it. All right. The Orange Bowl. So tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon, it's Georgia minus 20.5 against Florida State. When you see the 5th and 6th ranked teams matching up, it might give you the yips and make you all happy and ready to see this game. But Georgia's a 20.5-point favorite. Florida State has a ton of opt-outs. I'm not going to get into the whole fiasco with the College Football Playoff Committee, but they've really just almost decided to boycott this. A lot of their players, I should say, have entered the transfer portal. They have 20+. Or not the transfer portal, have just opted out of the bowl game. They do have guys in the transfer portal, but a lot of guys going to the NFL as well who aren't going to be suiting up. This is not going to be the Florida State team that we've seen all year. They're going to have their third string quarterback, who's that freshman QB, going up against Georgia. Don't really like the odds on that one. And I think on the Georgia side, you could say, like, wow, is this a letdown game? They got left out of the college football playoff with just one loss and a tight game to Alabama. Is this team going to be motivated here? I do think Kirby Smart has a culture where they're not going to drop off. They're not going to just take their foot off the gas pedal. I think Kirby showed us, I know it was the national championship last year, but they really steamrolled TCU. I think they come in here with something to prove today, and they want to show the world that they belonged in that college football playoff. Whether or not they did, I think they're one of the best teams in the country. That loss to Alabama didn't change that. So I like Georgia to come out and roll. I think this culture is gonna allow them to use this as something to use as a chip on their shoulder and build momentum headed into next year. And it's a big chance for an out-of-conference victory. So I like Georgia in a game that's something like 38-9. Georgia minus 28.5. Lock it, flush it, and I'll give you another bet in this game if you want to go here. I've got Florida State under 11.5 team total points. I want you to lock and flush that one. Again, a freshman quarterback who struggled. This guy does not have a lot of experience going against an experienced Georgia front. And while Georgia has a lot of guys entering the transfer portal, they have a number of guys going to the NFL. I truly think this core of freshmen and sophomore players at Georgia, they're going to come in, and these guys are skilled. They're some of the best players on their team are sophomores. I think we're going to see that show up on the field in the Orange Bowl tomorrow on a nice Saturday afternoon before we get into some NFL games. All right, so lock it, flush it, Georgia minus 20.5, Florida State team under 11.5. So that's 6 picks between today and tomorrow. We've got some great bowl games coming up. Make sure you smash the subscribe button so you get notified on all my picks. I will be recapping all these picks so you can see how correct or wrong I am, as usual. So happy college football, everyone. For Porcelain Picks, I'm Andrew Fabian. Enjoy.